Well. Wasn't it a good week of NFL action today and this week in the NFL? Hello, I'm RJ from Game News USA, and today we are going to go over the NFL Week 8 recap. And boy, oh boy, was it an excellent week. So many things happened. Upsets, Hail Marys, you name it. Good list of games. It was very good. There was no teams on a bye. Tons of action going on. And tons of things to talk about. So thank you for being here. Please remember to hit the subscribe button. And without further ado, let's just go in order of how the games played out and jump right into it. So right off the bat, we got Vikings-Rams. Rams feel like they were dead in the water. Like at any minute, they were getting ready to be crushed and their season would be over. But they were able to defeat the Vikings 30-20. And that leaves a lot of questions. Minnesota has now lost 2 games in a row. And are they turning into a pumpkin? Are they going to go away? They're in a tough division. Was it all fool's gold? Or is the Rams catching fire? Are they actually good? Are they healthy now? Are they ready to compete? I think it's a little bit of both, guys. It's a long season. Minnesota's holding on for dear life. The Rams are trying to catch up with dear life. And that was a big game for the Rams to win. There was a controversial non-face mask call in the end zone. And it just goes to show even more reason why we need a sky judge. No, it didn't cost the Vikings a game, but it ended the game, basically. So, like to see the NFL add a sky judge like they do the UFL. That would be nice. Like to see them bring back traditional kickoffs from the 20. That would be nice. And I'd like to see them change the overtime rules so we no longer have ties. But I digress. I'm moving on. Next up, we got Eagles shellacking the Bengals 37-17. For all those people calling for Nick Sirianni's job, boy, do you look stupid today. The Eagles are what? 5-2 now. They're just as in it as any team in the NFC. Okay? It's been so overblown what's happened to them. Yeah, the Bucs blew them out and they lost the game. Who else did they lose to? It doesn't even matter. They're 5-2. The Bengals is the story here to be concerned about. They lost a game at home, a game that kind of needed to win. And they're still struggling on defense, especially to hold teams down. You know, Saquon Barkley had over 100 yards rushing. What else is new? So, yeah, big deal there. Next up, we have a huge upset. The Cleveland Browns upset and beat the Baltimore Ravens 29-24. A very competitive, fun, back-and-forth game. The Ravens were as hot as any team in the NFL going into this week. The Browns were as cold as any team in the NFL going into this week. But it goes to show you any given Sunday, especially when it comes to in-division opponents. And when it comes to Cleveland, now that Jameis Winston has taken over, Deshaun Watson is hurt, looks like their offense is actually moving better. Deshaun Watson, your career is over, brother. Totally over. Also in the early window for Sunday, the Detroit Lions completely demolished and opened up a can of whoop-ass on the Tennessee Titans 52-14. Now, in my opinion, the Lions are the best team in the NFL. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. The Chiefs are undefeated. They're back-to-back champions. Guys, I can't lie what's in my heart. When I see the Lions play, my head and my heart, I'm like, this is the best fucking team in the NFL. It just is the truth. Even with the one loss compared to Kansas City being undefeated. I don't care. The Lions are killing everybody out there. And they were tied 14-14 with the Titans at one point. And then what'd they do? Completely opened up the can of whoop-ass. Now, look, this was at home, and this was against the Titans. Let's not overblow it too much. But who else scored 52 this week? I'll wait. The Lions are freaking good. And the Titans are in a clear and obvious rebuild. Next up, we got Cardinals-Dolphins. Entertaining game. Came down to the last minute. Kyler Murray's balling out. The Cardinals are sneakily, they're right in the playoff hunt. The NFC West is really weak this year and really competitive. They're weak, but they're not, bad. It's just everybody's around 500 over there. And so the Cardinals is one of those teams, and they were able to win. The Dolphins looked like they had life with Tua coming back. I don't know how much of a season they have left, but Tua looked good. And it was a very good game. If that's the game that you watched in the early window, you probably watched the best one, or one of the best ones. Because we had another game that I am very, very happy about. And that is, and it was going to be the title of the story, was Aaron Rodgers, fucking up and stuff like that. We decided to go with the Hail Mary instead, which I'll talk about later. But the Patriots defeated the Jets 25-22. The Jets should be absolutely embarrassed. They're actually last in the AFC East right now, below the New England Patriots. I'm very proud of my Patriots for getting the win, despite the fact that Drake May was injured. Look, my Patriots, we knew going in this year they weren't going nowhere. The Jets had high hopes. They had playoff hopes. They had Super Bowl hopes. And boy, oh boy, just like I predicted, all those people are eating crow. They're worse than they were last year when Rodgers was hurt and on the bench. What happened to the Broadway Jets? Well, I'll tell you, Aaron Rodgers is a terrible leader. Flat out terrible. He's the best quarterback we ever had that is also not a good leader. Make that make sense. Then we had Falcons beating the Bucks 31-26. Look, there's a few guarantees in life. One of them is Baker Mayfield's throwing for over 300 yards. Whether he's blowing you out, whether he's in a close game, or whether he's getting blown out, he's throwing for over 300 yards. He is a stat machine, pumping out those yards. And, however, the Falcons got the better of him again in another close game. And that goes a long way into deciding who wins the NFC South. Because we know the Panthers aren't going anywhere. And we know the Saints aren't going anywhere. They completely fell apart. Just like the Jets did. But the Bucks and the Falcons, that's what it's going to come down to at the end of the year. To decide who's going to the playoffs as the NFC South champion. And the Falcons have the outright tiebreaker over the Bucks by beating them twice. So if they both end up being 10-7, Falcons win the division. So an absolutely huge win right there for the Falcons. Then next up we got Packers versus Jacksonville. Jacksonville looked like they had some life. They actually almost won this game. But at the end of the day, the Packers, the better well-coached team with the better quarterback, the better offense, the better defense, the better special teams. The Packers were able to win this game 30-27. Another great, close, early window game. It was very entertaining. We had several of those. Speaking of which, Colts-Texans. Texans took care of business 23-20. Look, we've seen division opponents losing. We saw the Jets lose. We saw the Ravens lose to opponents that are supposed to be weaker than them. And the Texans didn't let that happen. By beating the Colts here, and the fact that they beat them earlier in the season, they have the outright tiebreaker over the Colts. So just like the Falcons-Bucks situation. If they both go 10-7, let's say, guess what? Texans win the AFC South. And so that game was completely huge. I think the Texans will be one of the quickest teams that will clinch their division in the whole NFL. And this went a long way into doing so. C.J. Stroud threw for 285 yards. Glad to see him getting back on track a little bit here. The Colts could be fighting for a wild card spot maybe later in the year. They've been a competitive team, sneakily, quietly, winning some games. But they did not win today. It was the Texans' day. And that leads us to the later window of games where they were less competitive except for basically one game in particular. But we had the Chargers blow out the Saints 26-8. The Saints' misery continues. It just don't stop. The Chargers are really starting to click on offense. They needed this win to sort of stay in the wild card hunt because I don't know if they're going to catch in the division, obviously. But they look good in general. Then we have Buffalo shellacking the Seahawks 31-10, and if you watch that game, the Bills honestly had more control of it than that even. The Bills are completely dominant. I mean, after you go Lions, then Chiefs, 1A, 1B in the NFL, then you got to be looking at the Bills as the next contender, because Josh Allen is just playing such good, efficient football, and that's why he's also an MVP candidate too. It's actually a very quiet 6-2 from the Bills compared to previous years when they were the Vegas darlings. Now they're sort of like seen as, they're kind of the other team. But look at what they're doing. They may clinch their division sooner than anybody else. They are way ahead of the Dolphins and the Patriots and the Jets in the division. So I'm really liking the Bills to win this AFC East. Question is, where will they finish in seeding? Could they eventually catch the Chiefs and get the number 1 seed in the AFC? Or will it be the number 2 seed or the 3 seed? But the Bills are in prime position here, as long as they stay healthy and as long as Josh Allen is playing the way that he's playing, and that defense is playing lights out the way they're playing. Next up, we got Broncos beating the Panthers 28-14. Let's call it what it is. The Broncos are on a hot streak. Yes, they're beating up bad teams, but they are winning games. And Bo Nix has played better every single week. And now they're really starting to work. And one game I'm really interested in next week is Broncos-Ravens, because that's the real test for how good the Broncos are in reality. Because the Ravens will be fierce coming off of a loss. And that'll be a real test for the Broncos and for this young quarterback to try to pass next week. And so I'm excited about that. Panthers, they're a dumpster fire. We all know about them. I'm not going to waste my breath. Next up, we got the Chiefs beating the Raiders 27-20. It wasn't even that close. There was a garbage time touchdown by the Raiders. They almost recovered the onside kick, though, which would have made it not garbage time, but they didn't. Raiders had a prime opportunity after an interception from Patrick Mahomes, who's having a down year. Let's call it what it is. Let's be realistic. He's got 7 touchdowns and 9 picks. He played better this game, but he did throw yet another interception that almost led to a touchdown. But the Chiefs' defense was able to do a goal line stand. They backed him up, actually, a few yards. The Raiders ended up going for it on 4th down. They didn't get it. And then from then on, that game was completely over. And at some point later in the game, Gardner Minshew fumbled, and guess what? Gave the Chiefs a short field, and that was the ball game right there. So Chiefs still undefeated, 7-0, as they attempt their quest to possibly go undefeated. As they attempted their quest to do a three-peat. We will see if this success continues. Then we had the game I really want to talk about. And that is Bears-Washington. And yes, it was mostly a defensive game. It was a battle of 2 highly touted rookie quarterbacks. Number 1 and number 2 in the draft. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. Caleb Williams for the Bears led his team in the 4th quarter. About 100 yards passing. He had a miraculous Patrick Mahomes-like play. Drove him down the field and got what looked like the game-winning touchdown with mere seconds left on the clock. However, just like many of us thought Caleb Williams was the best quarterback in the draft, just like many of us saw what we thought was a game-winning Caleb Williams drive, it was not so. Jaden Daniels, who has been an absolute sensation with bruised ribs, ran around in the pocket on the last play of the game. Ran around, planted his feet, and slung that motherfucking football as far as he could up to around the goal line. Ball's tipped in the air, and what happens? A lone Washington player is in the back of the end zone receiving God's gift of a game-winning touchdown on a Hail Mary in the final seconds of the game, and Washington and Jaden Daniels pull off the miracle. One of the greatest Hail Mary throws I've ever seen and that you've ever seen in your life. Moves Washington to 6-2, and they are one of the darling stories of the NFL. And wow, I was impressed as all hell when that happened. Congratulations to Washington. Also, Chicago, keep your head held up high. It's a long season. And Caleb Williams is that dude also. Then we had Sunday Night Football. The 49ers are used to beating the Cowboys. They beat them all the time. They beat them in the playoffs. They beat them in the regular season. They blow them out. They rip their heart out in close games. It is a fact of life. Death, taxes, and 49ers beat the Cowboys. Well, they did. 30-24. The Cowboys are the master of the garbage yards. The Cowboys are the master. Dak Prescott is the master of getting garbage time points. Look at what happened against the Ravens. It literally, you're behind all game, you're behind. You even almost have a chance to win in a comeback, but you never pull it off. You never make the play that separates you, that makes people think that you deserve the number one paid contract in the NFL. You ain't Patrick Mahomes, brother. You are Dak Prescott for a reason. And again, the 49ers did have struggles in the fourth quarter closing out games. Don't understand why they're having issues with that, but they did. Brock Purdy played a much cleaner game, throwing for 260 yards in that game. And the 49ers did hang up 30. They're starting to get healthier. The NFC West is weak as far as the record goes, but I think the teams are decent. So we're halfway through the season. It's going to be a second half season for the NFC West when it comes to who takes it. And I believe the team up to the challenge is the San Francisco 49ers. I know they've had their ups and downs, but they're only going up from here. Cowboys, look at their schedule. It's brutal. The Cowboys might lose the next 3-4 games before they play the Giants again on Thanksgiving, where they can muster up a win. Because they got teams like the Eagles coming up that people love to mock, but they're 5-2. They got the Texans coming up. It's not looking good at all for the Dallas Cowboys. I wish they'd stop putting them on my fucking television. Then last but not least, we had Monday Night Football. Steelers-Giants, entertaining game. Steelers ended up winning 26-18. It was a field goal battle for most of it. Second half, it opened up a little bit. Giants had a chance late. But there's also one other guarantee in life that you could predict. It's not just death, taxes, and the 49ers beat the Cowboys. It's death, taxes, 49ers beat the Cowboys, and Daniel Jones sucks in prime time. The man just could not make the plays necessary to win the game. And the Steelers are rolling with a 6-2 record. I'm really starting to buy into this team because Russell Wilson's playing good. Complimentary football along with the Steelers defense. TJ Watt is still freaking amazing. Any chance that he's single covered, he may strip sack you literally. Mike Tomlin has to be the second best coach behind Andy Reid in all of coaching. He's so good at situational awareness and putting players in the right place, and just all of his coaching knowledge. How he was able to look at the Steelers at 4-2 with Justin Fields and be like, we can upgrade at quarterback. And some people were pushing back on that. Well, I think those people can shut up now because the Steelers are, guess what, 6-2, and they look better than they did on offense. Because they're letting Russ cook. And guys, with that was the NFL Week 8 recap. Thank you all for watching. Peace. Have a good one. I'm out.